So I've just been watching a Facebook thread by a guy called Jeff Fryatt, and he's saying about how UK and Irish flyers need to start upping the game, and I agree. And his post was, it's about time we started to promote GB lofts instead of blowing smoke up Belgium, Dutch people's backsides and what have you. There's nothing wrong with Belgium and Dutch flyers. There's nothing wrong with their birds. They do a very good job of marketing their birds. They do a very good job of publicising their results, of branding themselves. And like I've said before in previous articles, the latest strain is simply the name of the last guy that flew them well. That's it. And that's marketing, and that's branding. That's all it is. Categorically, there's nothing wrong. There are some good continental world-class birds out there. But equally, there are some UK and Irish birds that will kick the ass of anything out there on the continent. But the difference is, they're not getting marketed. Like this discussion I've just been reading says, if some of our best ever flyers with amazing results in the UK and Ireland fly their own birds, they're still known as, oh yeah, it's XYZ guy that flies those continental birds. And like I said, for a start, continental flyers chop and change and swap and co-breed a hell of a lot more. I mean, I've started to see co-breeding happen with some of the big flyers and the studs, but they chop and change birds and swap birds and exchange birds all the time. And we don't do much of that, because if we've got great birds, we want to keep them. Why let anybody else? You've just said exactly it. Sprinters Van Bell. You've just said exactly, hit the nail on the head. Trouble in this country is too much cloak and dagger. Because if a guy's got what he considers to be his best birds, there's no way anybody else is having them, because he doesn't want them to be beat. That's a whole mentality issue right there. Whereas the difference is, the best guys on the continent will quite welcome the swapping and the exchanging of their best birds. And guess what happens over a period of time? Things just keep getting better. So you've got some big issues. There's absolutely nothing, like I say, there's nothing wrong with continental birds. But birds in the UK and Ireland, ultimately, certainly birds into Ireland, have the toughest job in Europe. It could be even argued the toughest job in the world, especially coming in from France. But yet, the branding is not done. Why is it that all of the Asian buyers only want to buy Belgium and Dutch birds? Why is that? Well, that's because, in my humble opinion, it's about branding of the flyer. It's about the publicising of the results in a way that they have ace birds over there. And I know people say we have ace birds over here, but it's not marketed right. It's not marketed right. If we want to capture the long-term attention of the overseas big markets in this game as UK and Irish flyers, we have got to market ourselves right. We have got to up our game. We've got to stop being so negative. The fact that you won't get the top flyers, or a lot, I'm sure some people do, but a lot of the top flyers in the UK and Ireland swapping birds together and making, welcoming with open arms the challenge of beating each other. That's the big thing that needs to happen, first of all. Like I said, there's no such thing as a pure strain. We all know that. You look back at the latest, greatest bird strain that there is. It's full of everything you can imagine, as far as you want to go back. And that latest bird strain, known as XYZ strain, just got the name from the guy that did the best with them. The last guy that did the best with that particular group of birds, they become known as him. And that's quite right. That's quite fair. But the idea that we don't do that. So if you've got a UK and Irish flyer that it does really, really well, straight away, yeah, it's okay to say, yeah, they're made up of this family or they're made up of that family. But straight away, he or she have got to be branding themselves. These are my birds. This is Mr. Smith's birds from the UK or Ireland. We don't do that. The way of moving forward the UK and Irish birds that we've got, undoubtedly some of the best birds around. I was speaking with Paul Swindell a couple of days ago. His birds fly from France into Ireland, into Northern Ireland, and they do the hardest work probably of any pigeon in Europe. No better birds, long distance birds, from what I know, around. And the trouble is, one, people don't know about them. Two, they're not marketed right. Three, not enough time is given. That's the other thing. You cannot change and start competing with the continental birds and the continental flyers and lofts overnight. It needs a matter of time. Needs time to do it. But with the right branding and the right marketing and promotion and getting all the elements together, it can happen. But here's the other thing that needs to happen for that to happen. There has to be a massive shift in mentality of 75% of people in the UK and Ireland. I had somebody that's a supporter of mine message me yesterday and saying, I still get people saying after you put those videos out, I put 3 videos out in one go yesterday, that people are still worried that you're in this for the money. One, I'm not. If I start making money from it long term, great. Two, I have a main business that's my focus to make me the money and the wealth that I want. Three, so what if I was? What is, like I said in my very first article that got me back into all of this, what's wrong with money? For anybody that's stuck in the dark ages of, oh, he's making money out of it, he must be a bad person. What century do we live in? Is money suddenly a thing that we don't need to start earning? The guy, I won't mention him, but he told me that he'd spent a lot of money on pigeons to get the best he could. And he had random people messaging him saying, what gives you the right to spend that much money on birds when I've been doing this for however much longer than you and I can't afford to buy those birds? Just explore that mentality for a minute. I was shocked. What gives you the right to spend that much money on birds when I've been working hard at this for years and I can't spend that much money on birds? How screwed up is that mentality? I don't get it. So much so, it forced this guy to stop. And he stopped for a while. Fortunately, he started again. That was a conversation just yesterday. The mentality that we've got here in the UK and some parts of Ireland, I don't really know the Irish mentality, although I've got a few haters in Ireland, so it's probably the same, is that anybody that's earning any money out of this is bad. Why would that be? What is wrong with that? Two, if I was coming out here to not just help the sport and make money out of it, what's wrong with that? Not that that is my primary goal. There's a lot better markets to make money out of short term than this market. That is not the issue. I've clearly stated what I'm looking at, and I'm not talking about me at the moment. What I'm talking about is, like I said, the guy yesterday that said he had that much hassle because he'd spent that much money on birds to get the best he could, and he had hassle from people that couldn't afford to do the same and were giving him hassle. What mindset does that mean people have? And that's one of the biggest problems we've got in promoting UK and Irish birds around the world. Ultimately, the birds themselves and the results that they get have the ability over a period of time. It's not a 1 year, 2 year plan. It's over a 5 to 10 year period of time. I have no doubt that I could get UK and Irish flyers and their birds demanding top prices, just like the continental Dutch and Belgian pigeons do. But until a couple of fundamental things change, that's going to be an uphill battle. You're going to have an uphill battle doing that. Because the mindset, 75%, maybe not 75, maybe 60-40, 60% of people in this country, in an island, have the wrong mindset about all this stuff. I've had people saying to me, you should set up, like Pippa have done, and promote and market UK and Irish birds, just like Pippa do for the continental birds. And it's a good idea. My big fear is that, because I know technically, skills-wise, I've got the skills to do it. It could be done. And I know the birds are good enough. If marketed, branded right, and promoted right, and given enough time, it could be done. I know that within 5 to 10 years, you could have a serious amount of UK and Irish birds going to all the countries paying the top money for them. But there's a battle that goes on with, like, this guy said to me yesterday when I talked to him about the same idea. He's like, yeah, you could, and it's a good idea, but would you want all of the extra haters you'd get for doing that? Well, that doesn't really bother me, but there's a bigger picture here that you've got a mindset issue that I would be doing that. There's no doubt, apart from the birdages that they get in some of the big races in Belgium and Holland, and we get some pretty big birdages on some of the nationals, there's no doubt that we've got birds as good and better in certain cases. Certainly some of them Irish birds flying into Ireland and some of those birds flying to Scotland, the sheer grit and determination some of those birds need, let alone to win, just to get back. Ultimately, some of these Asian countries that are buying and spending big money on birds, these birds we've got in the UK and Ireland are actually the very birds they need, because some of the conditions that these birds in Asia have to fly into, it's some pretty harsh stuff. So I know we've got the birds. I know it can be done. But until a new mindset gets adopted, that, yeah, we've got to start calling our family of birds our own names. Yeah, we've got to start marketing it better. Yeah, we've not got to be backstabbing and fighting each other all the time and have this whole negativity. There's negativity everywhere in the world. It's not like everywhere else outside the UK and Ireland are living harmoniously. Of course, there's problems. But the idea that top guys won't share their best birds together and co-breed and not co-race, but co-breed, that's the fundamental flaw, which the Continentals do very well. And it can change. It would be a hell of a challenge to say, within 10 years, UK and Irish birds are going to be as sought after as any birds anywhere. It could happen. But can the mentality change? Do they want it to change? Now, some do. I've been speaking to people all the time, off and on, in the last 3 months, that are on my wavelength, could completely agree with what I'm saying and get it. Some don't. And some pretty hard-nosed guys that I've met seem to have given up because they can't be doing with the hassle. And that's pretty sad in itself. Now, I'm a resilient mofo. Nobody will ever stop me doing what I want to do. And I genuinely think it could happen. Promotion of Irish and UK's birds over a 10-year plan. Let's be realistic. It's a 5 to 10-year plan to be as sought after, because the numbers are there. Maybe not the numbers in club races, but that's a whole other issue. Like, should clubs be merged together and federations be changed and what have you? But that's another story for another day. But when I look through those Pippa books I've got, and then I look at some of the the results that UK and Irish birds have got. I was doing it because I was speaking to Paul Swindell about his birds he's got, and those birds are as good as anything in that book. The only thing they haven't got is some of the massive international race birdages, but that's another change for another day. Those hard birds that fly from France are as good as anything, and that means all it comes down to is a shift in mindset of the people being involved, branding of each individual flyer, dropping, oh, it's Bob Smith that races those Vandam whatevers. No, it's Bob Smith racing the Bob Smith birds. Time, effort, marketing, branding, a slight change of mentality, and an openness to new things is what's needs to happen. I can help make it happen, but do the flyers want to? Let's get some, before I go, let's get some comments, because I've had a load of comments coming in and I haven't seen any of them. There are no better flyers on the continent than there in the UK and Ireland. Completely agree. I think I already read that one out, but I completely agree. It's worth saying again. Trouble is, this country is too much cloak and dagger. I read that one out as well. Apologise for repeating myself. Co-breeding is the way forward, and crossbreeds will improve the rest of the world that do no value the ring the same. I completely agree, Matthew Munslow. And it was nice to speak to you on Messenger earlier. And thank you for the support. Stephen O'Brien, if different racing is in each country, take UK and Ireland, for example, they can race across the sea and mountains, then take Holland, all the flat and sea level and reclaim. Plus, their radius amongst federations only a mile or two wide, so winds play no advantage and ours are far bigger. Again, I agree. There's an element that some of the things need to change to really compete, but we can only deal with one thing at a time. And I think if we change the basics, we can start then looking at how we improve the rest of the time. No matter what do where you live, it's a matter of breeding, racing, selection over and over again, year in, year out. Good luck there in the UK. Mind you, the grass is not always greener on the other side of the canal. Gert Van Hendricks, thank you for the comment. What do they win? All well and good flying France to Ireland, but what have they won? The Swindell Pigeons. Well, I think you'll find he's had some pretty good results. The Vandam Bulks are fast because they are the brainwashed but to fly from the same race point every week in, week out. There's nothing but the same distance and same line of flight, so it's faster and faster. Whereas us in Ireland, we race east to west, down the land, and they change complete directions. Completely good, valid, very valid point. But again, it needs marketing that these birds are more intelligent. Not just as fast, but they're more intelligent to do that. They're not robots that fly the same line every time. Again, that's just marketing. That's all that is. It's marketing. We need to name drop this. We need to drop the name of Van this and Van that again. But that's the key, isn't it? It doesn't matter. You should say, yeah, this is how the family was made up. But from a branding marketing point of view, this is the guy that raced them last here in the UK or the island. That's it. That's what needs to start happening. It's a change of mentality. I think there's better on the continent. Well, like I said in my opening thing here today, I'm saying there are some amazing birds on the continent and there are some great birds, and I'm not saying that they're not, but I don't think Irish and UK birds are favoured as much. And the harsh reality is a lot of the UK and Irish birds that are out there winning the races actually have come from the continent. Think about that for a minute. You need good scribes, people who will write articles on the great people and not always about themselves, or rewrite articles 20 years old. There's a start. Bob Anthony Besant, and we were talking about that on a video yesterday. I think there's a market for a brand new, free, completely free, digital monthly magazine translated into at least 10 languages or globally all around the world. In each part of the magazine has its own section on different countries. I think there's a market for that, and it should be done. We were talking about that yesterday. Different racing continent. Every week you can race 80 to 100 mile, and that's easy regards to feeding and the routine. Again, maybe we should do more short-term races. Why do they have to always increase over length? Why can't we have some races that do stick at the 100 and 150 mile mark throughout the season? This is a whole new, different thing that needs changing or looking at changing. But thank you for your input, mate. Christopher Jones, thank you for watching. A lot of continental birds come from the UK in the first place. Many fanciers send their birds to Holland to be Belgium when war broke out. As the continental birds these days come here and gone to the bulks are all the rage now. The Lambrechts and Custards all the way out. I agree. Strains, but like I said, a lot of the continental birds, like you just said, started from here, but vice versa. A lot of the winning families of birds from flyers here in the UK and Ireland, they're continental birds a couple of generations ago. So that needs marketing, you know? That needs saying, listen, these birds fly harder here. And look at the results they get. But thank you for your input, John. Belgium and Dutch national races on land, our birds have to fly the toughest route across the water. Into Wales, into Ireland, have to come across 2 channels. Completely agree, Gary. But again, why can't we change? Why can't a club be formed that changes it? You can race a short distance every single week if you're just a sprint racer. You can start racing different birds at different times, and it doesn't have to be you just building that distance throughout the season. Why can't you continue to be competing in sprint races all season? And from my understanding, that's what is possible in the continent. Again, this is what needs to change. Do we need a change of the way some clubs are worked and some severe changes to improve this? I'm only talking about the basics of how we can start now. Bigger stuff of changing. Maybe there's an argument that a club needs to form that does cater to people that want this change. Where did the continent get the birds in the beginning? Exactly, Stephen. Marcel Sangers, always nice to see you tuning in to me chatting about this stuff. Thank you, Marcel. Adrian Bolter, don't mind midweek clubs stick at some. Don't midweeks clubs stick at the same point? Not sure, mate. Maybe they do. I don't know. So yeah, a lot of comments there. Still 17 people watching now. That's about it. It can be done. Big changes needs to happen. I think there should be a league system. I think there should be a league system for flyers. Leagues 1 to 4. Leagues 1 to 4. And you go through the leagues into where, when you're in League 1, in the Premiership, and you're the champion of that league, you win the championship for the year. There's a lot that can be done. Maybe there is a new club that thinks a whole other way that needs to be formed. Maybe we do need a whole national club that thinks completely differently. I'm not sure. But what I do know is if they were marketed better and we did the things I've said without going through them all again, things could get a lot better. And it can happen. It can happen. Right, guys, I'm going to crack on. Thank you for watching this once again. Appreciate any feedback, comments, good or bad. I'm a big boy. I can handle negatives as well as goods. And watch again next time. Thanks very much.